All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the Ramblin Gamblin Sports Network YouTube channel here to break down the entirety of UFC Fight Island 5 coming up on October 10th of 2020 from the beautiful Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. Starting off right away with our card, we've got Jason and Zach from the Damage Plan MMA podcast, as well as Maceo, Vic, ASMR, and Aspiring Burner here to break down all the fights and give you our predictions for the weekend. We'll jump into it right away. We've got our first fight on the prelim card of the evening in the flyweight division. We've got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Bruno Silva.
I guess I'll start off on this one. It's no secret. I like Ulanbekov. He trains out of Russia. He's training with Khabib. That kid's got a lot of upside. I don't really need to break it up any more than that. He's a huge favorite. He should win this fight. I don't see Silva causing him any trouble. So I'm going with Ulanbekov.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I got Ulanbekov. He's got 6 submission wins. Like you said, he trains with Khabib. Likes to pump the jab to keep the range, but this dude's versatile all the way around. You know, he's a good grappler. Like I said, he's got 6 submission wins. He's adequate on the feet. He's got good cardio, keeps a good pace. He's a volume striker for sure. Bruno Silva probably has the power advantage. And a flash knockout is probably like the only way I see Bruno Silva winning this fight. He's lost both his UFC fights. He's got a nice front kick, but he is susceptible to getting hurt to the body. I've seen him get hurt to the body on numerous occasions when I was watching the tape. And he slowed down in the third. So I'm looking for either a Ulanbekov third round TKO finish or a submission or just a decision victory. But I'm going Ulanbekov for sure.
I'm going, obviously, going to stay in line with Tagir on this. For anybody to mix it up a little bit, if you'd like to like a little bit of money, you're not going to get a lot of value on a guy that's over 4-1 favorite in Tagir. But where you could get some value is under 2.5 rounds, betting that it won't go the distance. That's about plus 150. I think that's the bet on this fight, and that's what I would take is Tagir with the second round submission.
I like it.
Yeah, definitely. Both of these guys, heavy on the wrestling and their skill set, definitely. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a slugfest or anything. Bruno Silva has some crazy WWE-esque kind of takedowns. He's extremely strong for the flyweight division, so he's liable in his fights to just pick a guy up and slam them on the ground. And that's worked for him a little bit in the past, but unfortunately against a guy that's as skilled at wrestling and just fighting in general as Tagir, I don't think that's going to work. I'm taking Tagir by decision. He's got 4 decisions on his professional record. I really like, he moves kind of awkwardly on his feet. He's unpredictable when striking, and he's always kind of looking to strike to lead into a takedown. And then once he gets it on the ground or even standing in the clinch, he's lethal with the wrestling and the grappling. So I'm definitely taking Tagir, and I think it goes to decision. I don't think either. I think Silva's a good enough wrestler that he's not going to get choked out early or anything. So for our next fight of the evening and our only women's fight on the card, we've got in the women's bantamweight division, Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger.
So I actually like the underdog in this fight. And I love Tracy Cortez. She's got a cool story. Her brother was an MMA fighter. She lost her brother. She's kind of trying to pick up the torch and carry that torch. She had an impressive win on the Contender Series, 1-0 in the UFC. I don't like this matchup for her. I think Egger's going to be too big and too strong for her, and I think it ends up going to a decision. And I think Egger just outmuscles her, out wrestles her, and she ends up getting the. I think it goes to Egger. Egger will win by decision. That's my pick, and she is a plus 155 underdog in this fight.
Yeah, this fight is pretty much a toss-up in my opinion. It could go either way. I like Tracy Cortez. She lost her first fight via guillotine. Ever since then she hasn't lost. She's on a 7-fight win streak. She's got a nice left and a good straight right. Nice low kicks. She's a good boxer offensively. Defensively, she leaves a little bit to be desired. She does get hit, but she's got nice scrambles in the grappling. Overall, she works hard for the takedown. She's pretty relentless. She's got good cardio. But like you said, Stephanie Egger, I think she's a live dog in this situation. Like I said, I think it's a coin flip fight. So in this case, I feel like you just got to kind of have to take the dog. In watching Stephanie's fights, she's a judo fighter, first of all, and she was able to just flip and transition to mount on pretty much all of her fights that I've seen. But yeah, no, this is gonna probably be on the ground, and like you said, Stephanie's the bigger girl, so she could definitely edge out a decision victory here. I'll lean towards the underdog Stephanie Egger, but I mean it could go either way.
I like Tracy Cortez here. I think she has the experience factor, and I kind of lean a little heavier on that. Sometimes you see some up-and-comers that are just killers, and they wipe out a lot of that experience factor. I do not think that is the case in this fight. I think Tracy, I could see a very close fight, 29-28, maybe even a split decision. Definitely is going to go to, I would say, definitely going to go to a decision. But I think it'll be a close fight, competitive fight, but I think Tracy Cortez's experience fighting on a place under the pressure like a Dana White Contender Series, as well as holding a win in the UFC versus somebody who has not even been on that level for one fight. She's, in my eyes, 2 fights on the bigger stage versus 0. I'll take Tracy Cortez by decision.
I agree that this is definitely going to be one of the closer cards on the fight. I think that as far as betting odds go, it's taking Stephanie Egger is going to be a good bet as the underdog there, just because I do think it's going to decision. It's going to be a good fight. I am going to be taking Tracy Cortez as my winner in this fight. I think as I'm looking at who's scoring points how, and I think Tracy Cortez, both hands, she's going to be able to score a lot of significant strikes on the head and on the body. And so if they spend any significant amount of time standing, I think she's going to take a point advantage there. And I think she's good enough on the ground that she's not going to get finished in a submission by Stephanie Egger or anything. I mean, I'm not saying she's not going to get taken down during the fight, but I just don't see her getting finished in that manner. And I do think that as far as their fighting styles, she's going to be scoring more points if it goes to the judges' scorecard. So I'll be taking Tracy Cortez by decision. For our next fight of the evening, in the featherweight division, we've got Giga Ninja Chikadze versus Omar, the Venezuelan vanquisher Morales.
Man, I love this card already. This is gonna be a great card. I think this is gonna be a really good fight too. Chikadze's he's already fought twice this year. Kickboxer, and oddly, both of these guys match up really well for the 155. They're both super tall for 155. I think it's going to be a great fight. They're both stand-up fighters. I like Morales in this fight.
145.
Is it one? Oh, it's at 145.
Featherweight, yeah.
Okay, so 145. Those guys are huge for 145. I think it's a great matchup. Like I said, size-wise, I think Morales gets it done. How it ends, I'm not quite. I mean, I'm just going to pick him to win. I'm not going to go with how it wins.
Boo!
I know. I don't have a. I don't have a. I mean, The one thing that alarms me about Chikadze is he does gas. So I feel if he gets it done, it's got to be early, because I think if it starts going into the deeper waters, I think Morales ends up finishing him, or he's going to win the decision.
For sure. I pretty much agree with that. Like you said, Chikadze, both these guys are really good kickboxers. I would say, though, that Morales does have a power advantage, in my opinion. Just watching tape, he just looks like the more powerful striker, in my opinion. But Chikadze's got, nice liver kicks. He'll switch stances. He's pretty flat-footed, though, but he likes to use a lot of kicks. He has 2 kickboxing titles, 38 kickboxing wins, but juxtapose Omar Morales, who started kickboxing at age 15. These guys are both, this is going to be a striking match. This is going to be a sick one. I'm looking forward to this one. But I'm going to lean Omar Morales probably via decision, or like you said, versus Jamal Emmers. Chikadze really slowed down in that second and third round. And if he does that against Morales keeps that power with him all the way through. So he could finish him in the later rounds. But I'm definitely leaning Omar Morales, either third round TKO or a decision victory for Morales.
This is the one where I like the little slight underdog. Again, odds makers have it as pretty much a coin flip, but I like Chikadze. Did I say that right? Gigi, whatever. The Ninja. I like him in this fight. I've watched him a couple times. Like he said, Jason said, he's been pretty active. I like that. I really like his kickboxing resume and how active he has been in kickboxing. And if you're going to get in a stand-up battle, which I think we all think that this is going to be, I would favor the guy that's had more kickboxing matches. I think he's a little bit more technical. He obviously doesn't have the power that Moraes has. But I think he outpoints him and kind of cruises to a decision. Like you said, he has shown that he can fade a little bit in the third round, but I think he should be active and do enough in the second round if he can avoid a knockout in the third round. I think he wins to a decision 29-28, maybe even 30-27 if he has his conditioning up a little bit, and he should be able to just outpoint him, I think.
I would agree that this fight is going to be going to a decision. I have Morales winning that decision. I think when it comes down to it, this is definitely going to be a striking matchup. However, if you look at the additional skills that the fighters have, I think Morales takes the edge. In the pocket, I think he's doing a little bit better with some more dirty boxing, a little bit more Muay Thai style in the clinch. I think he's a little bit stronger standing up close as opposed to kickboxing at range with full-length strikes. And I think he's shown in his professional career, all 5 of his submission victories have really been just following up a knockdown that he gets from his kickboxing, from his striking, but he's very quick and very good at following onto the ground, going ahead and getting down to the wrestling, getting back up and striking. So he's got the advantage, I think, in level changes and in the pocket or in the clinch up against the fence. So I'm taking Morales by decision. I think he scores more points as long as he doesn't get knocked out by Chikadze by one of those long kicks or one of those long punches with those, 6 feet, 145 pounds.
That'll be an interesting fight.
Definitely. Yeah. Is my mic quiet or does it sound
You're
pretty
good?
No, it sounds really good. Yeah.
Cool.
You sound great.
Yes,
excellent. Our next fight of the evening in the bantamweight division, we've got Ali Al-Kaizi versus Tony Kelly.
So both of these guys are coming off of their UFC debuts where they both lost.
In August.
Yeah, Ali lost 8-8, and then a week later, Kelly ended up losing to Kai Kayamaka, with Ali losing to Erwin Rivera. Funny, looking at Ali's record, he's got 3 submissions by guillotine in this fight. I mean, in his fight record, he's got 3 submissions by guillotine. So he loves that guillotine choke. He's a 2-1 underdog. I see Tony Kelly getting this one done. He's got a couple submission wins on his record as well, a couple guillotine chokes as well. So I'm actually going to go. Actually, I lied about that. He didn't have I was looking at the Ali's stuff on there. He actually has a couple rear naked chokes and a couple shoulder chokes. I'm going to go with Tony Kelly getting a submission. Second round.
For sure. I like this matchup. I think it's a matchup of striker versus grappler. Ali being the grappler, Tony being the striker. I like Tony striking, like you said, versus Kai Kamaka. He was getting worked in that first round, and then he just, picked it back. He just realized he was losing the fight, and he had to, change it up. And I love seeing that in fighters being able to adapt mid-fight and change the course of the fight, the way it's going. But the thing that I didn't like about Tony Kelly is that he will go for guillotines and accept getting taken down. I'm not a big fan of that, especially if you're not a great grappler and getting back to your feet, because he definitely wants to fight standing. But Ali Al-Kaizi, he definitely wants to fight on the mat, and like you said, he goes for those guillotines. Those guillotines are actually standing guillotines. I've seen him sink a couple of those in, which was pretty nice, pretty smooth. But if he's not able to get the fight on the mat, I definitely see Tony Kelly either TKOing him or decisioning him. But it's all going to depend on that takedown. If he's able to get him down, he could control him potentially and grind out a victory, or even potentially submit him. But I'm leaning Tony Kelly for this one. I think he's definitely got the better stand-up. If he's able to stop the takedowns, that's a big if. But if he is able to, I definitely see him TKOing him at some point in the fight. Not sure what round, though.
I like Tony Kelly as well. A lot of it is because he is coming down from 145 to 135. He has been fighting at featherweight, coming down to the bantamweight division. I think that that size advantage and coming down to a new division, I think that suits him well for his style and his striking. He does like to pull guard and accept takedowns, going for those guillotines. I don't think he's done that against somebody as a level of grappler as Ali, and I would hope that he would be smart enough to not do that against a high enough level grappler like Ali. You usually do that when you don't really respect somebody else's grappling too much. He does not want to put himself in those positions, and I think as long as he doesn't put himself in those positions, he works his way to a nice unanimous decision victory.
I agree. I think we're going to a decision, and I am taking Kelly as well. I'll start by discussing the loser briefly. I think this fight is a lot closer than the odds makers would suggest. Al-Kaizi is he has a loss in the UFC, but he really is a standing or on the ground. He'll transition into a submission attempt from literally any position, anywhere, wherever he is or his opponent. As soon as he manages to get in and get a good hold of any one of your limbs or take your back or your neck or anything, he's in there and he's looking for a submission. He's good on his feet as well. So I was surprised to see when the odds that I looked at when it was opening had Kelly at under 210 favorite, which is a lot further than I would have expected for this fight. But I do think that Kelly's going to win. He's got really good, whether he's at range or whether he's in the clinch and kind of doing that Muay Thai style, which he did spend quite a few months in Thailand training and fighting professionally. He's got decent wrestling on the ground as well. So the ground advantage definitely goes to Al-Kaizi, but I think that there's just going to be more points scored by Kelly, and he's a good enough wrestler that he's not going to let his neck be open up against the fence for a standing guillotine drop down into a crazy anaconda choke. I think he's a better fighter than to let that happen to him. So I think that kind of removes Ali's method of victory.
Nice.
Yeah, the betting wise, I'd say definitely the value is on Al-Kaizi for sure.
For sure.
I think he could definitely win this fight, just betting wise. But I'm taking Tony. But yeah.
Next, in the middleweight division, we've got Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley.
This is another great fight. Two guys that are similarly matched. Two guys that are built like freaking tanks at 185. Mm-hmm. Both contender series guys. Impa's already fought twice this year. Buckley's actually fought twice as well. He lost his last fight to Kevin Holland. I'm going to go against the grain on this one, man. Buckley's a 2-1 underdog in this one. I actually like Buckley in this fight. I think he has a little bit more experience. He's fought in Bellator. I think he'll push the pace a little bit more than Kasanganay Impa. I'm just going to call him Impa because I'm going to try to pronounce his last name. I think he's going to push the pace a little bit more, and I think he'll be able to neutralize some of Impa's wrestling, and I think he ends up getting it done. I'm going to go with Buckley with an upset, which I'm a little hesitant to do because last week I was totally off on my upset picks, but this is why we play the game, baby. But I do like Buckley. I think he's getting the raw on this stick because the guy's got some experience. He took a short notice fight with Kevin Holland, so I'm going to go out on a limb and go with Buckley by decision. I think it's going to be a grinder.
All right, for sure. Yeah, no, like you said, these guys are very evenly matched. Both of these guys are athletes. But what it comes down to is I just think Impa is the more versatile striker. I think he's a little bit more technical. And I think he has a nice fighter IQ. He's got a nice IQ on him. I just seen him, being able to adapt and just change the way the fight is going in his previous fights. But both these guys have kind of similar styles, these forward plotting styles, but I just think Impa's slightly better, slightly more technical. Joaquin Buckley, with that said, is an athlete in his own right, and he can knock him out for sure. I definitely would give the power advantage to him. He throws these wild looping punches that if Impa's not careful, he could get knocked out easily. He has faced the better competition, so you got to give him that. The value is definitely on Buckley. I'm leaning Impa to win a decision here, but I mean, I don't fault anybody for taking Buckley, either a first round knockout or something like that, because I could see him definitely that happening to Impa if he's not careful. So, but yeah, I'm leaning Impa, probably a decision.
So I'm just going to correct you real quick, Jason, because Buckley is not a contender series guy.
Oh, Buckley was okay.
He wasn't. He fought an LFA the week before.
That's that LFA. That's what I was thinking. Okay,
and then spent a lot of time in Bellator. But good resume. Fought on big shows, experience wise. Like I'd say about the same level. I'd like to give Buckley as a live dog here, because he's really good. He has some good experience, good opponents. Losing to Kevin Holland on a 6 days notice is nothing to. It's not a bad loss by any means on your UFC debut and cutting that weight. The fact that I fight at the same weight class as these guys, it makes me feel like I should go down to 145. They're huge, but Impa is. I think Impa's going to be too much. His last fight with Maki. Maki was hitting him with just hammers, and he just wore it and kind of just wore down Maki. And he has a chin. He throws his own nukes, and he impressed the hell out of me. And I just think that he's going to be a little bit too much for Buckley to be able to handle. I don't really think he's in danger of getting knocked out. He looked pretty technically sound. I saw him eat a lot of big shots from Maki. And defensively, I think he's pretty sound. He's one of those guys that if he does get hit with a big shot, he makes sure he gets hit with them in places that it won't put him down. And I think he showed a pretty decent fight IQ and kept a great pace for 185, the pace that he kept on in that fight to win that unanimous decision against Maki Pitolo. That he really impressed me in that fight, and because of that, I have it going to another decision. I've been pretty boring, but I do think this is a pretty good stand-up war, and we'll go to a decision in favor of our boy Impa, whatever his last name is.
So I don't look at betting odds at all until after I've made my decision for a fight, and then I put them on my notes. I was shocked to see how far apart this fight is. I'm taking Buckley to win, and I wasn't hesitant about it. I'm going to take him in round 2 TKO, a KO, actually, not a TKO. I'm taking him in a round 2 KO. I think as soon as they get a little sweat on him, he's going to catch him with something. The issue that I have with Impa Kasanganay, and he is a great fighter. He's a very technical striker. But the difference between being able to take shots from Maki Pitolo, who in my opinion might be able to just move down to welterweight whenever he wants, and taking shots from Joaquin Buckley is going to be very different. They have similar fighting styles when they're striking on the feet. But the difference is that I think both of these guys think that they're kind of a KO artist, and Joaquin Buckley is a KO artist, and Impa Kasanganay ends up being a TKO artist. I think he gets a lot of shots in, and he throws a lot of volume, and he's got some heavy shots in there. But I don't think he's got the same level of power as Joaquin Buckley does. I mean, I think it's going to end with Joaquin Buckley just throwing a massive overhand right and eventually catching him with it. He's very athletic. I think he's going to be in good shape. I don't think he's going to gas out before he manages to catch him. So I was pretty confident before I looked at the odds taking Buckley with a round 2 KO, and I'll stick with that. I mean, the odds don't change how I think the fight's going to go.
Yeah, that one surprised me as well. But with the odds being that big a part on those two guys, I thought they matched up pretty evenly.
Yep.
I do say this too. I think it goes to a decision, but it's a slugfest. I think it's the good chance that's fight of the night.
Yeah,
I
think this is going to be an excellent fight. Middleweight is a great division.
Right?
Yes.
We're the funnest.
We do have 3 heavyweight fights on this card, which is my personal favorite division as someone that falls into that weight class. I love watching these guys fight, seeing what I could be at maybe peak potential. Our next fight of the evening, we've got a heavyweight bout between Rodrigo Zé Colmeia Nascimento Ferreira versus Chris Daukaus in the heavyweight division.
So this one, I'm not really, I mean, they're heavyweights, so anything can happen when you get 2 big heavyweights in there throwing down. Daukaus, he is either KOing people or he's getting KO'd. That's kind of his resume. He's either going to knock somebody out or he's going to get knocked out. I don't see Nascimento knocking him out. What I see is kind of an ugly heavyweight fight. I see them coming together. I see Nascimento getting him on the ground and submitting him. And I'm going to say a round 2 submission for Nascimento, but I definitely think him submission win. He's got two submissions. He's got a submission win in Contender Series, and he's got a submission win in the UFC. So yeah, I think he ends up getting it done. I don't see Daukaus knocking him out.
Nice. So Chris Daukaus, older brother to Kyle Daukaus, you guys might be aware. Pretty athletic dude. Both of these heavyweights are pretty athletic. So you like to see that. Chris, though, he'll punch in combinations. He's nice in the clinch. He's a pretty big underdog in this fight. I don't know what the line is now, but it's a pretty massive underdog. Allegedly, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Haven't really seen any of his fights really go there, so haven't seen it really implemented in MMA yet. But he's going against a submission specialist. This dude trains at American Top Team in Rodrigo Nascimento. He's got nice pressure. Good low kicks, good body kicks, good front kicks, nice kicks all the way around. He likes to throw the straight right hand, clinches against the cage, and uses trips to get the fight to the ground. And that's where I see the fight ending as well. I think like I said, he's a submission specialist. If he gets it to the ground, I think he'll finish it either ground and pound or via submission, probably via submission. And I'm going to go in the first round because I don't want to bite your second round submission. But yeah, I got him winning via submission as well, Rodrigo Nascimento. But like I said, there's a lot of live dogs on this card, man. Just because,
for sure.
Just because I think that he's gonna win, I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on Daukaus, just saying he's gonna win. Just like Joaquin Buckley, man, he's got a shot in here, and I don't mind that at all. A little hedge bet on Chris Daukaus.
I'm going to take Chris Daukaus with a first-round knockout. How about that?
How about it? I think we all know where that decision's coming from. He's a big dude. He's a big dude.
He's huge.
Yeah.
He's ginormous, and I think he actually moves pretty well for how big he is.
Yeah.
I think he's athletic, and you say allegedly a black belt. So even if he isn't a legit black, you never know, right? Some people get promoted. Just it depends who you get it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's Brazilian, so his opponent's Brazilian, so I'm probably gonna have the jiu-jitsu advantage. But he's a giant human being. Those big, strong guys too. A lot of those submissions don't work on them. Like it's a different animal to be a submission guy at the heavyweight division. I think he's a favorite for a reason. He's 8-0, but I will take Chris Daukaus. And the odds are that it does stay inside the first round. And I think it could be quick. And I think somebody is going to go down. And I think it's going to be an early knockout for my boy Chris Daukaus.
So I'm also on the Ferreira via round 2 submission train. Here's the thing. Daukaus is huge. He's a big dude. He throws with power. He doesn't have more than a round and a half probably to be able to do much of anything. He's losing the fight if it goes over a round and a half. But man, Ferreira is a big dude too, and I don't think he's not going to get knocked. I mean, his striking isn't bad in the slightest, so I don't think that there's any huge advantage that's going to Daukaus. Daukaus, I've said this before about fighters, and I think it's kind of a funny observation. Daukaus fights like a cop. Dude, Daukaus, he seems like a dude that goes to the gym and trains with other, like you see in the movies, the cops are always going to the boxing gym and stuff. I feel like that's kind of how Chris Daukaus fights, like how you see in a movie that takes place in Boston or something. That's how they're fighting in the gyms, and I like it, but I don't think it's going to be. I didn't see a path to victory against Ferreira. He's a really good, really big submission specialist. There's some submissions where I see, if I see a dude has 7 submission victories, but they're all rear naked chokes, I'm less likely to say okay, well, this dude's a submission specialist, and more likely to say okay, this dude's probably really strong and manages to get his opponent down to the mat, but he's taking their back and he's throwing the arm around. This guy's got arm triangle chokes, Kimura chokes, armbar submissions, triangle submissions, rear naked chokes. He's, for a dude that big, he moves around really well on the ground to get into those positions, to get all those different chokes. So I think he's going to, as soon as they get into the gas tank of Daukaus and he's not able to be a a buzzsaw that you can't get close to. I think Ferreira gets in there and gets a submission, and so from some position he'll get something, and he'll get a neck, and he'll be done with the fight there.
Nice.
Next, we've got our featured prelim of the evening in the middleweight division. We've got Tom Breese versus KB the Bengal Bular.
This fight is interesting. These guys are both big 185 guys. Speaking of big 185 guys, Zach, these guys are both big guys.
F all that. We're barely the same breed. We want to talk about equality. There's no equality when it becomes athletes. We're not even the same species of human, okay?
Both big guys.
It's funny because I look at it from the opposite perspective of the thing. I see these guys fighting at 185. Like I see Bular fighting at 6'4", 185. I couldn't cut 65 pounds. There's not 65 pounds on my body that I could remove from it in order to be in a fucking martial arts fight.
Yeah.
I don't know where they pull it from.
I'm going to kind of take a page out of Macio's book and echo what he's been saying all night or all day that we've been on here. A lot of these dogs, Bueller's a plus 210 underdog in this fight. Depending on how you like to bet, Breese has the experience, although he hasn't been very active. He did have a loss back in February, and then he didn't fight again. He fought again last in 2018, and then took a 2-year layoff. Hadn't fought
back 2-year layoff.
Yeah, so he's got quite a bit of delay in there. He did do some grappling tournaments, but he's got a lot of experience in the UFC. So if you like the experienced fighter, then I think Breese is the way to go. Bueller, he's bigger. He could cause him some problems. I'm going to lean more towards Breese on this one because he is the more experienced fighter. I think he ends up getting it done by second round knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bueller causes him some problems and ends up ending the fight either.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. I think Tom Breese is probably the better fighter. I wasn't really able to see too much tape on KB Bueller, but from what I did see, he's got some nice clinch strikes, some pretty good kicks overall, some nice knees in the clinch as well. But definitely the value is on KB Bueller just because the line is just so ridiculously wide. I do think Tom is probably the overall better fighter here. But like you said, he's coming off back-to-back 2-year layoffs. He's a former 170-pound fighter. He's pulled out of fights before. He struggled with mental issues, anxiety, and things of that nature. The only reason I bring that up is just because, if your mentality isn't right and, you're coming in here facing this guy, you might not have really seen too much about him or know too much about him. That unknown, might come into factor here. But I'm leaning Tom Breese in here. I don't really have too good of a read on this fight, to be honest with you guys. But like you said, the value is definitely on KB. This might be just a huge underdog card where a lot of, plus 200 underdogs, just come through the entire card. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm leaning Tom Breese if he shows up mentally right and ready to go. But values on KB.
So when Tom Breese last fought a couple years ago against our boy Dan Kelly, right? That was Dan Kelly's last fight, kind of retired him, put him down. His last win, not his last fight, sorry. Lost to Brendan Allen earlier this year. I look at him in an 11-2 record, but I look at the layoffs and then I look at who he's beaten, and I think as long as he's there and he's in shape and like you said, like he's there mentally, there's a reason why he's a big favorite. But then you look at KB. I like those guys that are willing to take short notice fights.
Yeah.
Already have something scheduled on the Dana White Contender Series for next month.
Yeah.
And I like guys that are willing to bet on themselves, and he's gambling a little bit, right? He loses his UFC debut and doesn't do great on his Dana White Contender Series. Like that's probably that's probably head back to the minor leagues for a while, bud. I like guys that are willing to bet on themselves. I'm going to take KB. I'm going to take KB as an underdog on this fight, just because I like the confidence level of where he's at, and I like the dudes betting on themselves.
Yeah, I appreciate the confidence. I think he's a well-rounded fighter, and there are some big positives to looking at Bular. I mean, he's 8-0, he's undefeated. His last fight was a 5-round decision victory, I believe. Yeah, yep, 5-round decision victory. So that was a championship length fight. So he does have the. We know he's at least got the endurance to go for a full 5 rounds and win a fight at the end of it. So you like to see that, but Breese is a real big dude. I don't know how he fought at welterweight, but right. I'm sure moving up to middleweight was a good decision for his power. He's got a variety of ways to finish. He's got 6 submission wins. He's got 4 TKO wins. Like I was just saying during our discussion of the last fight, I think some of the submission wins might be because he was just a really big, strong dude that managed to get a hold of somebody's neck. Right. But still, you know, if he's willing to go for that and he doesn't need it to be on the feet, that's a good thing to see. He's got great boxing combinations. He's got a really powerful left hand. I'm taking Breese with a TKO in the second round. I think he's too big. He's too strong. I think Breese is just the better fighter in this matchup, and I don't see a path to victory for Bular. Moving on to our first fight on the main card, and we do have about 20 minutes to get through our 6 fights on the main card here. So we're good.
We'll be good. Yeah, we'll be good.
First fight on the main card of the evening, we've got Youssef, the Moroccan Devil Zalal versus Ilia Topuria.
Once again, you got another close one, which this is Topuria's UFC debut. I love Youssef Zalal. Having a hard time pronouncing these names today. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He's definitely got the experience over Topuria. I'm looking through who Topuria's fought. He doesn't have quite the resume that Zalal's fought. But I do like that 5 out of his 8 wins have been by submission, by choke. Unlike you, Harrison, I like to look at the odds because I'm a degenerate. And this fight is actually really close. It's almost a toss-up, and that's saying something to me. That's pointing out that this Tybura guy, he could bring the fight.
It has approached that as well. Zalal opened as a 170 favorite, and it's gotten closer as we've gotten closer.
It's actually he's 190. He's 190 for me. I'm still gonna go with Zalal. I'm gonna go with my original pick. I think Zalal ends up getting it done. I don't really have a take on how this fight ends. I wouldn't be surprised. Like we keep saying, we keep echoing. This is, if you're going to be betting underdogs, I think this is the card to do it, because
absolutely,
I could very well see Tybura, getting a submission and getting this done too. But my pick is going to be Zalal on this one.
For sure. So Youssef, he's a really nice, really, really good high-level grappler, wrestler. He's got some pretty nice defensive striking, though. He doesn't really get hit. He'll hit you, but he doesn't really take too many hits himself, which I like to see a lot. He's fought a lot recently. Likes to hit the body shots. He got good pressure when he gets on top of you. He's elusive, like I said. Going up against Tupira, 8-0, 23 years old. He's got 4 submission wins of his own. And that's what I see his path to victory is probably a first round submission win or something of that nature, because he's only been to the round 2 once. So all of his fights are ending in the first round. He's got a nice straight right hand of his own. He likes to rip to the body as well. Some good takedown defense, nice ground and pound, and he's a good grappler himself. Man, I'm going to lean Youssef Zalal probably via decision on this one, but I think this is a close fight as well. And with Tupira being the underdog here, I can't fault you for trying to take him here, because this could be a toss-up as well, although Youssef has faced a better competition.
This is not the card to go heavy betting on favorites. That's for sure. Because if you're going to parlay like 3 or 4 favorites on this, just throw away your money right now. There's going to be some upsets. But This is not one of them. Youssef Zalal, I actually think, is being undervalued a little bit here. I think he's super impressive. I love the competition that he's faced. I love that he's been a main event on an LFA card. His only 2 losses became by unanimous decision, and if you've watched the fight, I thought a pretty crappy split decision. I think he's exciting and he's fun, and I think he has a very, very bright future. And I think at 24 years old, we're going to see him start, after this fight, starting to take some bigger steps up in competition. at the featherweight division, and I really like him to win quite handily. And I'm even going to go by, which he hasn't for a while, but he started his career by getting a lot of submissions, it looks like, and a couple Darce chokes in there with rear naked choke. I like Youssef Zalal by some sort of choke. Not sure which choke, but he's going to choke him out.
I also like the favorite on this one. I'm taking Zalal by decision. I think the areas where Topuria would be able to shine against a different fighter are all areas where Zalal outshines him in the exact same kind of areas. So what we've got in Topuria, we've got fundamentally sound boxing, but Zalal moves around like Floyd Mayweather. That's actually exactly who I thought of when I saw him moving around when I was watching footage of him. His defensive footwork is really that, like, he'll lead you to, he'll draw a shot out of you and move back. He's playing chess out there when he's boxing. For Topuria, we've got, he's got a powerful right hand. He's got strong ground and pound. He's got good takedown defense, and he'll transition kind of into a submission attempt from anywhere. But if we look over at Zalal, I mean, he's got a strong everything on the feet. He's got great takedown defense, great offensive takedowns. He's willing to change levels from anywhere in the cage. He uses jumping knees in addition to his regular kicks and his punches. I mean, he's explosive. So I think he kind of just outshines Topuria in every way. I do think that it is going to go to decision. I don't foresee Topuria getting submitted, and I don't see Zalal getting the knockout finish. So I think with 3 rounds, we're going to go to a decision. But I'm taking Zalal in a pretty handy victory on that one. For our next fight of the evening, we have in the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall versus Alan the Black Samourai Baudot, who is moving up from the light heavyweight division for this fight.
So, I mean, my breakdown's going to be pretty quick on this. I think Tom Aspinall KOs him in the first round. And anytime I see a fighter that moved up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and he's that big right now, that to me, and I don't know the whole story. I'm probably maybe reading into this too much, but it shows me that maybe he's not quite as serious as he needs to be fighting in the UFC. And if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. But I think Tom Aspinall, I think we KO in first round. He's a freaking savage. He's out of his 10 fights, 8 wins, 6 have been by KO. Like, this guy just goes in there and murders people. So I think he handles it fairly easy.
For sure. Yeah, no, Tom Aspinall, 8-2, 27 years old. He most recently knocked out Jake Collier, if you guys don't remember that. He's actually a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt himself. Haven't seen it really yet, but he's very powerful striker, strong right cross. He's definitely the more technical striker in this matchup against Alan Baudot. He's 8-1, 6-4. He's on a 2-fight win streak himself. He's got very unorthodox, very flashy, wild striker, but super entertaining. Looking forward to this fight. He's got some nice inside leg kicks, good front kicks, likes to throw those looping hooks that do leave him exposed. So, he's got to be careful against Tom here. And something I thought was pretty interesting was that a prop bet for Tom Aspinall was plus 800 for a submission victory against Allen. So I think that could happen because, that's the path of least resistance if he wants to take it there. He probably just wants another highlight reel KO. But I'm just saying, potentially, because obviously Allen's going to want this fight standing. But if he wants to take it to the ground and submit him, I think, that's definitely an option there. Maybe even a first round submission. So that's like plus 1,600, I believe. But definitely taking Tom probably in the first round. So you might want to look at the under. I believe it's under 1.5 for the over and under. Definitely going Tom either via TKO or KO in the first, or maybe even a submission in the first. I don't know. Whichever way he really wants to do it, I think he has the ability to do that.
So I'm just going to ask a question. Does Tom Aspinall have like naked pictures of Dana White or something? How does he keep getting these overweight dudes that used to fight at lower weight classes that balloon up and then he gets to fight them at heavyweight? Jake Collier was like, that was like the most unfair thing I've seen in the UFC ever, maybe.
He waited with a shirt on.
Dude, the guy that we talked, I remember one guy's like, bet the house he sleeps him in under a minute. Sure enough, 40 seconds into it, that dude, Jake Collier's face down, up on the ground. And I feel like this is the same thing all over again. This guy's exciting. He's whatever, but dude, like Jason said, you guys, Tom's a murderer, and he's in there to do one thing: it's seek and destroy. And until he starts getting some legit competition in there, that's what he's gonna do. He smashes him, minute and a half, maybe. I'll try and make it last a minute and a half, 2 minutes. This one's gonna end in KO fast and bad.
I don't usually say this because I try to be as respectful as possible to the professional fighters, but I don't know why this fight got made. I don't know who made this. So a couple of issues with this. First of all, if you look at Baudot's fight history in Japan, so we've got him when he's fighting in Japan, he is a light heavyweight who looks like he's fighting against, Japan is not known for creating heavyweights and light heavyweights. He looks like he's fighting against middleweights that are overweight in the first place. So I found several of those fights where he really looked like he was fighting a dude that was in the middleweight division because he couldn't cut to welterweight, and he was doing it as a light heavyweight. So there's our first issue with his competition. Next issue, I don't think anybody should move up from light heavyweight to heavyweight unless it's because they're getting old and they can't make weight at light heavyweight. If you aren't a natural heavyweight, you shouldn't be fighting in the heavyweight division. You're going to get knocked the fuck out, and he's going to get knocked the fuck out. I don't know who made this fight. Tom Aspinall's a killer. He's a professional boxer. He trained with Tyson Fury. He trains with Darren Till. He's within 60 seconds. It's going to be a vicious KO. I don't know why this fight is. I don't know why this is. Because
he was originally supposed to fight Sergey Spivak, and then I think this is a late replacement. So I think that's why.
Oh, Baudot is a late replacement?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. So that's what I think. But yeah, no, he's there. He's on a platter for him again. No, for sure.
Spain's not that far. Call Juan Espino or something. Jesus, I don't know why we're doing this one.
I hate this matchup so much. Not as bad as the Jake Collier one, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, if you're addicted to betting large amounts of money on favorites, this is going to be the one that I would feel the surest about. I don't see.
Bet the house on under 1.5, 180 minus 180.
Absolutely.
And wait for the odds to come out for him to win by knockout in the first round. You might even get like even money.
Yeah, if that was an over under bet, I'd take under one. Yeah,
it's free money. It's free money.
Yeah.
Just interesting. Watching that footage was interesting too, because that was not high level MMA that I was watching over there in those Japanese fights.
Really?
I didn't think.
I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knew?
Sorry, I'm a sarcastic prick sometimes.
Next up in the middleweight division, we've got Markus Makulo Perez versus Dricus du Plessis.
This one's interesting to me because I think this one's kind of the grappler versus the striker again. I think du Plessis is more of the stand up. He's making his UFC debut on this fight. Perez, a little bit more experience, fought in the UFC a handful of times. Not quite that impressive of a record. They're evenly matched on paper, which it kind of surprises me. And du Plessis is actually a favorite in this fight, making his UFC debut. I know Perez is coming off of he's 3 losses out of his last 4 fights in the UFC. I mean, you could even go back even further. I mean, he's got a win-loss, and then now on a 2-fight losing streak.
No, it's just, the one was just a grappling tournament.
Oh, was it the grappling? Oh yeah, the last one was a loss, but he did lose.
Yeah.
To Turman back in November.
Yeah.
I'm going to say du Plessis gets it done. I think he's overall fought a little bit better. Well, I'm not even going to say he's fought better competition because this is a UFC debut. I think du Plessis gets it done.
Cool. All right. So Markus Perez, this dude is a grinder. You know, he's gonna fight for your dollar if you want to bet on him. He'll never give up. Like, he's one of those dudes. He trains at American Top Team. You love to see it. But he has lost his last 2 fights, like you mentioned. He's got an underrated submission game, and he's never been finished. He's got some nice heavy calf kicks, some really good leg kicks, good elbows. I love when fighters use elbows. But he'll use the body lock to try and get the fight to the ground. He's definitely going to be at a disadvantage in the stand-up, for sure. Technically wise, I think he might have more power, but he's definitely going to be at a disadvantage technically wise, against the kickboxer Duplessis. 6 foot, 76-inch reach. He's making his UFC debut. He's never been to the judges before, so I thought that was interesting because Markus Perez has never been finished. So if this goes the distance, how's his gas tank going to hold up against such a grinder like Markus? In my opinion, he's fought the lower competition. He's got some good low kicks though, and he has a pretty nice MMA IQ, good overhand right. But I'm gonna go with the underdog, Markus Perez here. I think he's gonna grind out a decision victory over Duplessis when he slows down in the second and third. Maybe he loses that first.
Burner, you said it right the first. What is it? Duplessis? What is it?
Duplessis.
Duplessis. You got to get the French in there, Jason.
I should know that. You think of my last name, I would know this.
You uneducated. No, I'm just kidding.
This is what the phonetic spelling's for, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So Duplessis. So just touched on it. Never been to a decision. It's crazy. Win or loss, every fight that he's had has ended in a finish. All 16 of them. That's almost unheard of. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I love about that is if that's his fighting style and he's going for finishes, I'm gonna. This is one of my rare. I'm gonna give the edge to the guy that hasn't been in the UFC. One thing's going to happen here. One guy's never been finished. One guy does nothing but finish people or get finished. I will take the guy that has that one thing without ever seeing any of his fights. Killer instinct immediately. He's got 14 wins by 14 finishes. Dude's got a killer instinct. I think that's really big in the UFC. I think a lot of new guys that don't have that struggle early in the UFC versus guys that are killers and go for the finish. So I will take Duplessis via. I'm going to go submission. He's got a lot of chokes. He's got a lot of punches, but he's got a lot of guillotine chokes, rear naked chokes. That's pretty much all of his submission victories. So I'm going to go ahead and say he's going to take his back and get the guillotine in the second round.
So that's a good transition kind of into what I was saying earlier in the stream about those guys that are just really big and physical for their weight class, so they end up getting a lot of guillotines and a lot of rear naked chokes because they just managed to get their big bicep around somebody's neck. I think that's one of the. I don't think we're dealing with a submission specialist with Duplessis at all, but nope. He's really big and strong. On the other half, we've got somebody that's not very big and strong for the division. I mean, Perez could definitely easily be fighting at welterweight if he wanted to. He's not a big dude for the middleweight division at all, but he's a submission specialist. I mean, I think that's what he's going to be looking for when he's in there. He's 2-3 in the UFC. All 3 of his losses were via decision, though. So he's obviously dealing with the size disadvantage well against at least UFC level competition. I'm taking Perez to win with a 3rd round submission. I think he grinds out the fight and eats whatever Duplessis is throwing at him, and then ends up managing to sink something in there in the 3rd round, doing some fancy jiu-jitsu that Duplessis hasn't seen. I think Duplessis is not that technical over wrestler. Like I said, it's mostly his strength that's allowing him to get these submission victories. His boxing defense could be better. He doesn't have the strongest chin. He stays calm under pressure, but he doesn't take shots very well. So even though Perez isn't a powerhouse, if he's managing to land a good volume of punches, I think it's going to at least disrupt Duplessis from his game plan a little bit. So I'm going to take the underdog, and I'm going to take Perez with a 3rd round submission in this fight.
Sure.
Not bad.
For our next fight in the heavyweight division, we've got the number 17 ranked contender in the heavyweight division, Big Ben Rothwell, versus the number 14 ranked contender, Marcin Tybura.
Man, when I first saw this fight, my initial pick was Tybura, and I still think he ends up getting it done, but he's a slight underdog. It's pretty much a coin flip between these two guys. I think Ben, being the bigger guy, he has some submissions. I think he can stop Tybura's submission attempts. I think he's big enough to stop takedowns, and I think he just outpoints him. I don't see this being a slugfest, and I think Rothwell ends up winning by decision.
For sure. Like you said, Ben Rothwell, he's got an underrated submission game, but I'm surprised this fight's on the main card, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of this fight. Both these guys have gas tank issues. I think it's going to be a low volume fight overall. Marcin Tybura is on a 2-fight win streak. But yeah, man, I just think it's going to be a sloppy heavyweight fight. And I'm going to go with the guy who I think has the better gas tank and is slightly less chinny, and that's Ben Rothwell. And I'm going to actually say via a 3rd round submission because, yeah, he's got that underrated submission game. But I'm staying off this fight. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you. It could go either way. Marcin Tybura normally is fade city for me, and I'm going to continue. I'm not a big fan of Ben Rothwell either, but I'm leaning Ben Rothwell. I'm going to go him via 3rd round submission.
He could possibly have the weirdest post-fight interview ever when he did like that goofy little like monster laugh thing, right? Ben Rothwell. So yeah. I actually like Ben Rothwell. I think he's really funny and entertaining. He's an interesting character. Tybura, I know he has a couple wins, and I don't know why. Maybe because he does fade, and it looks like he always struggles with his cardio or whatever. He's just never impressed me. Like I've seen him, he's active, but he's never made me go like, "Whoa, that was exciting!" Like ever. And I've seen it from Ben Rothwell before. And so I just, like you said, this is a coin flip. If you're gambling on this, Jason, you're a degenerate because you have no idea what's going to happen in this fight. But I am leaning towards Ben Rothwell as well via, slop fest, whatever you want to call it. He'll win. Probably a bad decision. I don't know.
I kind of like this fight. I like Ben Rothwell.
Of course you do. You're a heavyweight.
I like seeing I like seeing maximum weight fighters that manage to have a lengthy career in the UFC. That's it's if you look at his record for Ben Rothwell, you kind of see a journeyman record, but I think Ben Rothwell is like the epitome, the peak, and the pinnacle of what you could ever hope to be as a journeyman in the UFC. Though I mean, I don't think he's fighting in contention for the heavyweight title, but that's okay. There's a place for maximum weight fighters, and Ben Rothwell fills that spot really nicely. I wouldn't bet on this fight. Tybura is really dangerous on the ground. He's got huge King Kong ground and pound. If he manages to get on top of you, he's just gonna rain it down on you until you give up or the referee comes and stops it. Tybura covers distance pretty well. He's pretty light on his feet for a heavyweight, honestly. When I see him getting into striking battles, he got knocked out by Derek Lewis. He got knocked out by Augusto Sakai. I think he's going to get knocked out by Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell's good. I'm taking round 2 KO once they start to get a little sloppy with their defense. But I think Ben's just gonna hit him with a big Ben Rothwell shot, and that's how the fight's gonna end. He has been saying during all the media that he's been doing this week for this fight as well that really wants to make sure that this doesn't go to decision. So I'm taking Ben Rothwell by KO.
Man, I thought we were going to differ on this one, Jason, because you were kind of liking Tybura when we first talked about it.
I know. Initially, I was.
You bugger.
And also, shout out to the 90s.
Yeah, shout out.
For your comments. All right, our co-main event of the evening in the featherweight division, we've got the number 21 ranked featherweight Edson Jr. Barbosa versus the number 19 ranked Makwan Amirkhani.
Mr. Finland.
I don't know if you guys have seen this guy's Marquand's picture on Tapology.
Yeah,
but it looks like something out of Scarface. I love the guy just for that, man. Bro. How can you not like this guy? Man. I mean, he's got 3 girls, they're sipping some margaritas. Yeah, I think this fight's going to be super entertaining. I think it's a great co-main event. They're both going to throw down. I do think Barbosa's experience is going to be the difference in this fight. Amirkhani tends to fade a little bit. He tends to put it all out on the line, which could end up could benefit him. He could end up winning. Once again, we go back to these guys. He's a 215 plus 215 underdog. He could very well knock out Edson Barbosa. I don't see it happening, but it's definitely there. I'm going to lean Barbosa, and I'm going to lean this going to decision, believe it or not.
Okay, for sure. So Edson Barbosa, 20-9. The dude has vicious leg kicks, as we all know. Just a vicious kicker overall. He's definitely fought the better of the competition. His most recent loss, I believe, was to who was it? Dan Ige. I thought he won that fight. He's training at American Top. Love that. Obviously, been saying that. He's lost his last 3 fights, but they're against great competition. You know what I'm saying? He's got wins over guys like Dan Hooker, Gilbert Melendez, Dariush, Anthony Pettis. He mostly loses against guys who can take him down. And he definitely, obviously, wants to keep the fight standing. And this is his second fight at 145. So talking about Makwan Amirkhani, this dude's an amazing submission artist. He gets 3.16 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's relentless. But like you said, he does slow down in the second and third round. So if he's not able to, slap on some sort of submission in the first, early second, that's if he can get Edson Barbosa to the ground. I forget his takedown defense, but I think it's like 76% or something like that. He's got pretty damn good takedown defense. And that's with his fight against Khabib, So, I'm definitely leaning Edson Barbosa to keep it on the feet and to get a TKO victory, probably in the second or third round. Amirkhani, he's a good fighter. I like him a lot, but I just don't think he has the wrestling to get it there. And then even if he does get it to that point, I don't know if he has the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills to submit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Barbosa. So, Edson Barbosa, second or third round TKO.
So you're leaning towards Barbosa. I'm like jumping off a cliff to go with Barbosa.
Okay.
I'm all in on Edson Barbosa.
Love
he
it.
got screwed in that Dan Ige decision.
Yeah.
That was bad. I think I came on our podcast and I freaked out for 20 minutes about how bad judges are. That was a crime. Paul Felder fight, holds a win over Paul Felder and then loses a close split decision. Got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. Guess what? So does everybody. That's fine. Beat Dan Hooker. Super impressive. And then loses to Kevin Lee and Khabib. Other than that, I mean, these guys are fighting elite talent. You're going to run through some skids. I think I still think that he's one of the best fighters, strikers on the planet. And he's got great takedown defense unless he's fighting Khabib. So I think Edson Barbosa wins this easily, and I think he KOs him. I agree where I think he KOs him late in the second or early in the third.
Nice.
I think Edson Barbosa is pound for pound one of the best kickboxers in the entire history of the UFC. The man's
100%.
I'm taking Barbosa with a second round KO. I think the issue with Amirkhani's game, he's really good on the ground. He's got great takedowns. He kind of uses his striking. He doesn't want to stand and trade. He wants to move you with his striking over to the fence. He's always looking for a trip or a takedown. And I don't think that's going to work against Edson Barbosa because Edson Barbosa is just going to stand there and put his foot in your face if you try to get close enough to get him over to the fence to take him down. He'll throw kicks to anywhere. On the body, on the head, on the leg, front leg, back leg, left side, right side. He'll throw a kick to anywhere, and he's really fast with it. I will say this, even though I'm pretty confidently taking Barbosa to win this fight with a KO or a TKO, I don't like him fighting at featherweight as opposed to fighting at lightweight. I think he's cutting too hard to get down to 145, and I understand, if you don't want to fight at 155 right now, I get it. It's a stacked division, but I don't think moving down for some guys, I don't think moving down is an option that they should take, and I don't think it is for him. I'd like to see him go back up to lightweight to get a little more power in that crazy kickboxing. I think it would benefit his style. But even in this featherweight bout, I'm taking him to win pretty confidently.
For sure. You guys, would you guys be down or interested in parlaying Barbosa? At the line that he's currently at, I don't know what he's at right now.
I saw him at 250 favorite.
Mm.
I got him at 265.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems correct to me. This is another one where I'm fairly confident.
Yeah,
I agree.
Different level skill set.
For sure.
Different level skill set.
And an elite skill set. Something I really like is when a fighter has an elite skill set, like you said, all-time great kickboxer in the sport, let alone his kickboxing pound for pound is right there with just about anybody in the sport, not named Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva, right? So
I would love to see if we could, if you could just take the Photoshop scale tool and scale him up to be like a tall 185. I would love to see him fight Izzy. Yeah, absolutely.
He's sick.
Wouldn't that be something?
It'd be sick.
So that brings us on to our main event of the evening, the named card fight. We've got in the bantamweight division, the number 1 bantamweight UFC contender, Marlon Magic Moraes, versus the number 4 UFC bantamweight contender, Cory Sandhagen.
I think this is going to be a great fight too. Sandhagen's last time out didn't go too well. I think it was kind of a fluke with Sterling getting that choke in so quick. I think it was a minute and a half into the first round. Just a quick fluke thing. I don't see that happening in this fight. I'm interested in seeing what Marlon is going to show up. He had a split decision victory over Jose Aldo.
Wah, wah.
Which I think we can all pretty agree that we all thought Aldo won that fight. What I was kind of impressed with, though, is the fight before that with Henry Cejudo. Marlon pretty much had him finished. I mean, he was beating his ass. Ends up losing ground and pound in round 3, but I mean, once again, man, I keep going back to this. It's such a close fight. It's literally a coin flip for me. I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to say Moraes ends up getting this done. The only thing that scares me a little bit on Moraes is that he could gas. I'm banking on the fact that he's learned his lesson from these last 2 fights, and I think he gets it done. I think it ends up being a decision. That's going to be my goal. I'm going to go Moraes by decision, and he's, like I said, he's a slight underdog.
So when I was initially looking at this fight, I was, pretty confused as to who I was leaning or going towards. But after watching a lot of tape and looking at him over and over again, I'm definitely not leaning, but I'm for sure on Cory Sandhagen. I think this dude, he trains at elevation, so he's gonna for sure have the better cardio, as you said. Magic Marlon Moraes, one punch man, as I like to call him. This dude, he's really, really, really elite in the first and halfway through the second, but after that he gasses, and it's just, I think this is the perfect fight for Cory. Like, he's got the attributes, he's got the height, he's got the range, he's got the cardio, he's got the striking, he's got the, like I said, he's got the longer attributes, not only the arms but the legs too. He's a stance switcher. He does nice front kicks to the body. I would say his best win is probably against Rothwell Assunção. But yeah, man, he's a master at striking range. He's a good grappler in his own right, even though he got backpacked by Aljo, who was a common opponent, by the way. Moraes knocked him out. But Moraes also lost a split decision to Assunção, who Cory beat. So, I mean, MMA math there. But I'm super pumped about this fight. I just definitely see Cory outlasting him. I don't see him getting knocked out. I see him, as long as he doesn't get knocked out early in the fight, I just see him taking over with volume and pressure and just out cardioing him. So I actually see him finishing him probably in the 3rd or 4th round. I'll just go in the 3rd round. I think Cory has good striking. He has good enough cardio. And by the 3rd round, Moraes is going to be, gasping for air, like in that Cejudo fight. So give me Cory via TKO in the 3rd round.
Literally ditto to everything you just said. That's right. I mean, that's where I'm at on this fight. I think Moraes, to me, he's a little Conor McGregor-ish with his gas tank. He's so explosive and he's so powerful, and he hits people so hard. But all that explosiveness, Firas Zahabi explained it on the Joe Rogan podcast, and when you're explosive and you have the fast twitch muscles and stuff like that you need time to recover from that, and that's why you see Conor in the second TS fight, right? He started strong and then he faded and then he came back. That oxygen has to get back into your muscles, and I think Moraes is the same thing. I think that Henry Cejudo fight also mentally broke him a little bit. I think it's in the back of his head, and he's worried what happens if I don't get him out of there in the 1st round, early in the 2nd round. Like, am I going to fade? I don't think he's very confident in his gas tank, regardless. And I think we saw that in the Jose Aldo fight. He looks like he starts to get nervous when it starts to go. And we all know the judges can say whatever they want. He did not win that Jose Aldo fight. Hence the reason why Jose Aldo got the title fight. I mean,
yep.
It's and he knows that, and as a fighter, as a competitor. So I think Sandhagen's in a better mind frame. Like Jason said, I think it's easy for him to justify in his head that he got caught kind of quick and a little bit fluky from Aljamain. I think they fight 10 times. That's a coin flip. They could win. They could each win 5, and Aljamain just he caught him early that time. But I think Sandman. I think he wins this in the 3rd, 4th round.
So let's take a moment here to shout out to James Evans, UFC Deluxe, watching from the press box.
Hey, what up, James?
Hey, what up, James? What up, lad? I should say, what up, lad?
Main fight of the evening. I flip-flopped a couple of times back and forth as I was watching film. Every time I was watching highlights of Marlon Moraes, kicking people, I was saying, he's going to get him in the first or the second round. And then every time I was watching Cory fight, I was going to say, man, if it goes past a round and a half, he's got it. He's going to hit him with some kind of crazy elbow, spinning back fist, ground and pound. And I kept flipping back and forth on that. But I eventually realized that I think Cory Sandhagen is going to go ahead and get the victory. I think he's going to get it with a round 4 TKO. I think Moraes is gonna slow down as we get into the later rounds, into those main event championship rounds, and he's going to start taking a lot of damage. Cory Sandhagen has a lot of damage to dish out. I mean, he's got spinning shit. He's got heavy ground and pound, the ground and pound of a much bigger guy. He's got, spinning back fist, flying knees. He'll get you in the clinch, and he'll hit you with some razor sharp elbows, and he'll hit you with some knees to the body. I mean, he just has a variety of weapons, and he really can throw them at a volume. He's such a consummate professional when it comes to the UFC. I was just watching an interview with him yesterday where he was saying, like, I'm not a violent guy. I'm not out here thinking about hurting people when I'm sitting at home or because there's some guys where they're just killers. Whatever. If you dropped them back in the 1500s, they'd still be fucking people up for a living. They'd just be getting paid in gold doubloons instead of dollars. But he was saying, he's like, I'm not really a violent guy. It's just when I'm in the cage with my opponent, and that's my job right now. It's my occupation. It's what I'm really good at. And I kind of like that attitude. If you could get to the top of a sport, viewing it as a profession, as your job, and just making sure that you try to perfect it. He's not too emotional about it. He's not too emotionally like. It seems like he's really looking at it intelligently. And I think you see that in his fights too. He's got really accurate striking. He's got good fight IQ. I think he's gonna outwork him, and he's not gonna get knocked out in the first round or two. And so that's why I'm taking Sandhagen in the 4th or the 5th round. I'm taking a TKO, maybe a decision. But yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Let's get it.
Sweet.
Hey,
right,
and also for betting, what's the over and under? It's over and under 3.5, right?
I think so. I think that's last I saw.
That's perfect. For me, that's a tough line.
I love that. I'm hitting that under all day. I'm hitting that under all day. I don't think it's going. I think because it's 3.5 means it can't go past the 4th round, right? Or it has to hit.
It can't go past the 3rd round. So if it gets to the championship rounds, you would lose your bet if you pick the under.
I have seen places that do it at the half round mark. Where I'm just confused. I got to check my book. The 230 mark in the half round.
I've never seen that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, I have seen it both ways. That's why I'm just like, man, which way is it? But I guess it really depends on your book. So make sure you check on that. But if it's over under 4 rounds, man, I feel like you've got to hit that under 100%. Like, I don't know. Either Marlon catches him early or I think Cory puts him away, probably in that 3rd or 4th.
If we're still watching the fight in the 3rd round, we'll know that Cory Sandhagen's probably going to win the fight.
Yeah. More than likely.
James wants to know real quick who we've got for the co-main event. I'm taking Barbosa pretty confidently.
You're on that Barbosa train, boy.
Yeah, we're all on the Barbosa train.
They're the KO.
For sure, yeah.
All right, gents. Well, it's been good, and I'll talk to you all soon, and we'll watch the fights on Saturday.
Yeah, wish we could have chatted a little longer. We got our other one already set up, ready to go.
No worries.
Zach, I sent you the link. Brandon's already in there.
Okay.
All right, later, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.